Okay, I want to talk about something that was in the news yesterday and has been in the news a lot lately, actually, and I think is a subject that we're all deeply concerned about. It impacts not only every American, but literally everybody in the entire world. However, I want to preface this video by saying this is not my area of expertise by any means. So if this is an area where you are more knowledgeable than I am, I welcome your input and analysis. Nonetheless, I am going to talk about the fact that OpenAI announced a deal with the Pentagon yesterday. And I want to talk a little bit about the AI bubble. Again, we're not going to get some kind of precision, detailed analysis from me on this subject. And one of my favorite creators to listen to about AI and its viability, profitability, future, etc., is CJ Trowbridge. So I recommend you go follow them. And if you have a favorite creator who this is their wheelhouse, this is their area of expertise, please let me know, because I'd like to learn a lot more about this subject. I want to start by referencing a piece that came out from NPR yesterday by Shannon Bond and Jeff Brumfiel. It's entitled OpenAI Announces Pentagon Deal After Trump Bans Anthropic. And just be aware that this video may include me asking a lot of questions that I don't know the answer to, and I will read all of the comments on this video. I really want to learn a lot more because this is, again, something that impacts everybody. I do have some thoughts and analysis, though. I can't make a whole video without opining a little bit. But anyway, let's start with this NPR piece. President Trump ordered the U.S. government to stop using the artificial intelligence company Anthropic's products, and the Pentagon moved to designate the company a national security risk on Friday in a sharp escalation of a high-stakes fight over the military's use of AI. And shock, just hours after this announcement from Trump, OpenAI said it had struck a deal with the Defense Department to provide its own AI technology for classified networks. Shout out to NPR, by the way, for continuing to use correct terminology, Defense Department, instead of propaganda from the regime, War Department. Right, so over the last several days, there was what NPR calls an acrimonious dispute between the Pentagon and Anthropic about whether the company would allow its tools to be used for mass surveillance of American citizens and powering autonomous weapons systems against Americans. Because Anthropic was not super cheesed about the idea of their tech being used to violate the privacy rights and potentially take the lives of Americans, Donald Trump wrote a Truth Social post, flipping out, as malignant narcissists do when they're told no. He said, the left-wing nut jobs at Anthropic have made a disastrous, all caps, mistake trying to strong-arm the Department of War and force them to obey their terms of service instead of our Constitution. What part of the Constitution? First of all, strong-arm, right, every accusation is a confession when it comes to a narcissist like Trump. But what part of the Constitution says that this corporation has to use their technology to violate the privacy rights of American citizens or be used for autonomous drones to kill Americans? Where is that in the Constitution? Right, so Trump, again, acting like a dictator, says, I'm directing every federal agency in the United States government to immediately cease all use of Anthropic's technology. We don't need it, we don't want it, and we will not do business with them again. And we know that if anybody says no to Trump, that it's immediately like a narcissistic injury on his part, and it's like swift retribution, right? Villainizing anybody who dares to say, I'm not going to do the thing that you want. I won't collaborate with you on this. I think this is unethical or immoral. It's the swift villainization and retribution. So Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump immediately said they were now listing Anthropic as a supply chain risk to national security. Over 6 months, they were going to phase out their contracts. This is a $200 million contract, and I believe that Anthropic is taking in reporting about $14 billion a year. So this wasn't like huge for them. But OpenAI was waiting in the wings. And speaking of OpenAI, so I've been, on a very novice level following news of what's happening with AI for quite a while now, not only because so many of these AI tech bros are just like willing fascists, right? They want their technocratic feudal system in which we're all serfs, right? It's not just because of that, but also because, to me, it doesn't make sense, right? I don't actually see AI, especially large language model AI, I don't see that fulfilling any of the promises that these corporations have made. It feels very much like a bubble where all of these CEOs, all these billionaires are just fucking getting real rich off of this, and then it's gonna, right? And it's gonna be a really bad scene for the economy because it's literally like an AI bubble and, toothpicks and duct tape that is holding the American economy together. especially as we've started to see over the last several months, AI companies reporting down their projections and expressing concern. We've seen a lot of experts in this area and financial advisors being like, guys, this doesn't seem super great. And then when we've seen this really, really big explosion over the last several months to a year of AI making corn, I was like, oh, there we go, right? The minute any business model has to rely on the corn industry, and I'm sorry to use euphemisms so that YouTube doesn't censor my video. The minute we see an industry be like, in order to stay profitable or in order to meet any of our projections, which again, they're not even meeting their projections, like we have to make corn, you know that they're not delivering on all of their promises. And the other big flashing red warning light for me has been the fact that AI seems to be foisted on us everywhere. We see all these signs of like powered with AI. My kid was saying the other day, there was a vending machine at her college that had a little sticker on it that was like powered by AI. Why does the snack vending machine that's giving you like Doritos and Chico sticks, like why does that need AI to drive it? And when you open up your email now, it's like, let's use, AI to suggest emails for you. Everything is running on AI. All of my kids are in college, right? Either community college or four-year schools. And so often they have AI proctoring software or AI editing software that's just forced on them. And it's not necessary. It's not needed. We see these corporations trying to manufacture ways to squeeze AI into our lives and try and coerce us into using it. Rather than seeing a need that AI comes and fills, they're trying to manufacture the premise of a need, and it's not there, right? Which is, of course, why they have to rely on corn. And not only that, they have to rely on defense contracts, right? All of these corporations need to have contracts with ICE or with the Department of Defense, with the Pentagon, in order to have any hope of keeping it all together, keeping the bubble going. And maybe that ultimately was their goal all along, other than like get really rich really quickly off the bubble and get the hell out of Dodge. If they want to keep that bubble going, right? They need corn, and they need the Trump regime and sweet taxpayer money defense contracts. So as I was reading about OpenAI signing this defense contract, I was reminded of, or immediately thought of, this piece that came out in The Economist last year. It was entitled "OpenAI Faces a Make or Break Year in 2026." And here we go. We're seeing that, right? They knew that they were in deep shit. And now they're like, how can we get more of that taxpayer money? These are corporations that are not solvent on their own. They are not going to deliver on any of their false promises. They're not going to make the world a better place. They're not going to make the economy function better. They're not going to make corporations, right? They're making a few very rich men even richer off of promises that are elusive. Deceptive promises, right? The promises of the AI companies are too good to be true. It's giving Theranos, but if Elizabeth Holmes pulled her scam under an out-kleptocracy like the one we have now and was able to get billions of dollars of contracts from RFK Jr. and Health and Human Services. Okay, but getting back to this NPR story about OpenAI and Anthropic. For now, OpenAI does say that they want the same prohibitions on domestic mass surveillance and human responsibility for the use of force that Anthropic insisted on. But we'll see, right? We'll see. I also don't want us to lose sight in this conversation about the AI bubble and the woes of capitalism and the promises that these technocrat bros are making us that they can't deliver on, and how they rely on a kleptocratic system and massive government contracts in order to even hope to stay in business. I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that Donald Trump and Pete Kegsbreath basically told Anthropic, hey, we're going to force you, using this Korean War era Defense Production Act, to compel you to use your AI to allow us to conduct mass surveillance against Americans and to let your algorithm autonomously decide which human beings to kill. And listen to the propaganda here. WikiLeaks Pete said, America's war fighters will never be held hostage by the ideological whims of big tech. It's not our military service members. He calls them war fighters. This regime is a bunch of warmongers. Donald Trump is starting a war with Iran. Please understand what their goals are here. They want to make war. And they want to profit off of it. All of these corporations, Donald Trump, they want to make shit tons of money sending our children off to war. Right? Let's not forget, comes down to money. Comes down to money every time. It's all connected, right? The AI bubble, Trump's warmongering, it's all about money.